Hello, hello, hello. I don't know if anybody's going to be around. It's a very odd time of the day to try to do a live chat because obviously people could still be working and or people are just getting off work and all that stuff. But I did want to do this real quick because today is June 1st, and so it's the first day that we're doing Within Without Advice over on Instagram for the month of June. And what's interesting is that when I went to get the links to my original walkthroughs of the first edition of this deck, we were getting ready to do Within Without Advice with the Star Tarot last year. And because the second part of the video of the minors ends with my talking about Within Without Advice and kind of doing a sample reading of it. So I thought that was pretty funny and apropos for right now. You know what? I need to plug my phone in here because I'm going to switch to hands down in a minute, but it would help if it had the power on it. So let me just double check because again, third time using, and I know I have a thing right in my face, but my face is going to go away shortly. So hello, Strawberry and Booksy B. I love your name. I was just going to go check because I usually at least somebody says hello, and I was like, maybe I better go make sure this is actually showing up on video. So, so yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and swap, I think, hands down here so that we can take a look at these two decks. So basically what we're going to look at is there are two editions now, or there was an edition last year that came out of the Star Tarot by Kathy McLeland. It was done by Schiffer. I believe it would have been Schiffer. Red Feather, which is Schiffer. And the cardstock was typical Schiffer, really shiny cardstock. And the borders were typical Schiffer big borders. Most people trimmed them. There were some weird color variations in it, but it was a beautiful, beautiful deck. And so they re-put it out. Miss Veronica is having a sangria at Disney Springs. What is Disney Springs? Is that different than some other kind of Disney? Inquiring minds want to know. Anyways, Schiffer re-put it out again this year and fixed a lot of the problems that we had with it originally. Now, they are having some problems with it. I will talk about that in a minute when we go hands down, but I will say they made a vast improvement over the first edition of it. So, yeah. So hello, everybody coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and get my face out of here because nobody wants to look at my face. I having allergy face at the moment. My sinuses are just like, oh. But I wanted to say hello here. So let me do this. And let's see. I'm going to make sure you guys can see everything okay. I'll probably turn this light off. That might help here. Okay. So this is the first edition, and I don't even know if it's the first edition. I think it's the first edition that Schiffer did. There's something that tells me there might have been another edition before this. But again, I have a full walkthrough of this, and I've put the links down in the description box. So this is more of a quick comparison of the two because some people have asked me if I had it, what I think about it, what are the difference of it, as they try to judge whether they want to pick this up or not, whether they have this or they don't have this one. So I thought it would be good to do that as we're going to get started, or I'm going to get started with it. And it's going to be showing up on my Instagram. So people are going to, ask me what I think about it. So you can see right away that there is quite a big difference in thickness level. This was the first edition. This is the second edition. I think the second edition box is probably one of my favorite boxes because it really is a gorgeous box. I think that one of the problems with Schiffer is that they do amazing boxes and they need to put some of that amazingness into the cards. And I think they've kind of done that this time around with some little mistakes that they've got to fix. But so yeah, I like that they took the UPC off of there. Most of us, or a lot of us, well, I guess it's not there if you put it this way. Let's be fair. Here we go. So one of the things is that this was thinner because they split the deck, and I'm not a huge fan of boxes that split the deck. I like to keep my cards all in one pile because otherwise they start to bend differently, and so it's not my favorite form of storage of cards. Now, the benefit is that obviously you get a thinner box instead of a thicker box. So you can see that the artwork dramatically changed on the boxes. This is gorgeous. There's really nothing else to say about this box other than the fact that everything about this box is gorgeous. Like, it is probably one of my favorite imaged boxes. Just that hermit is so gorgeous. It's just beautiful. I mean, there's no question they really upped the game. This isn't a wretched box, but this is like a gorgeous box. So they definitely amped that up a little bit. Now, the first edition has like a typical of the old style Schiffers with the ribbons that keep the boxes open and the little ribbon tab. That's pretty typical Schiffer. It has a beautiful image of the artist painting. Look how big the image, look how big the painting is. You can see here she is, Kathy McLeland, and she's painting one of these images, and you can see how large these paintings are for each one of these cards, which is really cool. And on the new box, it's one of the magnetic closures, which is probably my absolute favorite type of a box. I wish they would have left some kind of an image here, but it's really beautiful. So certainly I'm not going to complain about that. So that's sort of the boxes. The box has just improved by leaps and bounds. It's really, really gorgeous. So let me pull out the book and we'll talk about the books in a minute. Now, I have trimmed mine. So if you want to see them untrimmed, you'll have to go watch my walkthroughs. The purpose of this is not to do that again, but I did put them in order so we could compare some images. So I've trimmed mine, but you can see it's being held in two sides, which is not usually my favorite. And they have done that differently this time around, where they have the book. Again, we're going to talk about that in a minute. And they put the cards all together in one pile, which I appreciate. Now, I don't appreciate these things, and you can see right here why. Because it needs to not be, oh my goodness, okay. So it needs to not be a cardboard insert. Now, it doesn't come up, it's glued down, but they're still able to get underneath. Like you can see, I'm going to ruin that edge by trying to get that out. So I don't like that, but you know, what are you going to do? Nothing is perfect, but I prefer this. If I hadn't had a camera right here, I would have just dumped it and I probably wouldn't have had a problem. I've opened this one other time. I just got it this morning and I didn't have any problem getting it out. So I'm guessing it's not going to be as much of a problem, but I just wish they would do it a little bit different. Oh, Hopeful Soul said she put a ribbon so she could pull it right out. Good suggestion. I will be doing the same. So box wise, this is just gorgeous. I mean, I just don't know. You just can't really get any more beautiful. It's big, but it's going to look really gorgeous on the shelf. So yeah, beautiful boxes. But let's be honest, we don't, trying to move things, we don't do anything with the boxes, right? They sit on our shelves. So the boxes aren't the most important things. Let's turn the cards over. Actually, I'm going to move the cards for a minute, And let's just take a look at the books. The books are about the same size. This one is a little bit thicker than the other book, or than the original book. Again, it's that same gorgeous image from the front. They're both, laminated or shiny, a little bit glossy on them, but they're beautiful. Both of them were pretty. There's definitely a difference in the guidebook in terms of color. So if you look at the magician here, we have a black and white image, whereas if we pull up the magician here, we have a colored image of the card, which is nice when you are just wanting to take this to bed with you. You don't want to try to find the card. You want to shuffle them. You can see the color and the image right there. So it is definitely an improvement, because this is even a pretty dark black and white one. So I would definitely say there is an improvement in that. Now, they look to be the same as far as I can tell, and as far as my friend Patrick's had it longer than me. And the text here is the same. So they haven't changed the text, which is fine, because this is actually an amazing guidebook. And you all know I'm not a huge guidebook person, but the improvement or this guidebook is really amazing. Now, there is a section here in the back, which I think is great, that helps you to find your birth card. She's calling it a lifetime birth personality and soul cards. And so she goes through how to find it, and then she gives you, for each of the cards, the major arcana cards, how you would interpret that in terms of your birth card. So that's really helpful. I do like to look at birth cards, and so I do think having a resource like that is really great. So book-wise, improvement with the bits of color. That's just really beautifully done. But for the most part, the guidebook is the same as the guidebook was in terms of content as it was there. I don't know that this book had that life path cards. Doesn't look like it, unless it's stuck somewhere randomly. But no, it doesn't look to me like that has that. So that's an addition that's been added in. So there's the books. Again, this is, if you're somebody who's using this deck, I really recommend that you, again, I have a full walkthrough, so I don't want to go through and retell you everything that I went through before, but it's really a fantastic guidebook. It gives you a lot of information, even in the minors. What I love about this guidebook is that there is a lot of pieces to the imagery, and she bolds those so that you can see, okay, there's a volcano here, and this is why there's a volcano. There's a woman here, and she's connected to the volcano, and this is why. She's wearing a green cloak, and it represents this. She holds 5 white calla lilies, and this is why. There are 5 wands, and what those 5 wands mean. So all of the imagery, is put there for a very specific purpose, and she tells you what that is, right? She gives you an idea of why she chose the different symbols and what those symbols mean. And I think that is really, really useful. If you're going to have what I would consider a busier deck with a lot of symbols there, then you should be able to get that insight as to why, and it's very comprehensive. So if in case here you take the moon, the gray towers, why the gray towers, the 2 wolves, the forest, the owl, the crayfish, the new moon, the 2 ravens, the astrological symbol of Pisces. So it gives you all of the symbols that are important, and then gives you the reasons why the creator made those. And I personally think that is really fantastic. And so this is I've had this deck for a year, and I don't generally rave about all guidebooks, but this one is a good one. It's well worth having out with you. So guidebook, there we go. We've got the addition of the birth cards. So let's put that to the side. Jamie Loom, definitely contact them. It doesn't matter where you got it. We are going to talk about some of the problems in two shakes of a lamb tail, as they say. I don't know who says that, but I'm saying that. So here, now remember, I trimmed my deck, but I did want to show you that the backs of the cards have been changed. Now, I love the back of this card. So personally, I would have preferred the back to stay the same because I think it's simple and it's really beautiful. However, I mean, this is fine. It's I like this one better, but it's what are you going to say? There's nothing horrible about this. So so that's the backs. You do see a change in backs. You're obviously going to know that which is which, but you can obviously tell that anyways. One is very glossy and one is very matte. So that's the other major change, is that you have a really matte, beautiful, soft matte, not that rose petal that's sticky, but a slippy matte versus a really highly glossed card is what you have there. Let's flip the cards over. I mean, yes, the back, this is beautiful. I just really love that other one. You know how it is. Everybody's got their own opinions. Here you can see that they are now borderless. Now, this used to have as thick a border on the sides as this. Again, you can look up images online, or you can look at my walkthrough, which I linked below, so that you can see that they had quite thick borders going around the whole thing, which of course makes the image that much smaller. And these are images that have a lot going on. So you can see that the image itself is a lot larger. It's not that they just trimmed everything off and you got this size card. If I kind of line these up, you can see you've got this much more image along the top and the side. And that does make a difference when you're looking at cards for details. You're able to see the details that much better. So they are now matte and borderless. I really like the way that they have done the little swoop-de-swoop, kind of separating it off from the title. I think it looks really sharp, and it, of course, goes quite well with the whole aesthetic of the card. So I do think, I agree, Entropy Apothecary, that the second edition does the artwork more justice, both with the matte and with the size of the cards. So that is that. Now I'm going to try to move in. If you get nauseous, you know what, let's do this. I'm going to be kind to those that get nauseous. I'm going to lower this down here. Let's see how far I can play with this here, just so that we can see the cards now that we're done talking about the box. Let's see if we can. Okay. I'm still going to have to adjust it a little bit, but at least maybe some of the wobbliness that can make you really nauseous will. Oh, okay. So now we're like way out of alignment. Okay. Let's come down here and get, okay, here comes my Libra brain to get everything centered. It's a little bit better. Again, we're live. This is what's going to happen, but we're really, I've got a full walkthrough of this already. So it's not like we need the full Monty here. We are just going to kind of compare these two and do a quick little flip through of it. So yeah. Big improvement over that. And I have not gotten to shuffle this yet because I just got it and I really wanted to do a quick flip through. None of the images of the cards have changed. So none of the artwork has changed. But there were some issues with this artwork where, let me see if I can find a good example. One of my favorite. Okay. There are some that have like a blue layer. Let's just flip through the majors. Let's do this because I want to take a peek too. There's almost like there was a blue filter put on some of the cards that was kind of strange, and they have fixed that issue as well. So let's just do a quick flip through. You can see the real bit of a Thoth influence here with the alligator or crocodile. I don't know which is which. I love the raven here. Again, I'm not going to go through this too much in terms of what's here because I have a full 2-hour walkthrough. Yes, Jamie, thank you. My cards were stuck together. Okay, thank you, Jamie. Let's look at that real quick. So you can tell they were also kind of printed in clumps. They came in one, but you can see like the first and the second half. As those shuffle in, that should go away. Now, some people are having problem with the gilding. Patrick did. I know Miss Jamie said hers was really bad. Mine is not too bad. This one is because I couldn't get it out of the box, so that irritates me. But for my gilding actually looks really well. Now, I did have, my gilding was clumped together, but I just was really careful. When you get gilding that's clumped, I just kind of bend it a little bit and then just was trying to be really careful to split each one apart. Now, you shouldn't have to do that, but with this kind of shiny gilding, that does happen. But they're having problems with that, and they're going to have to do, there's also a title error that's going to have to get fixed as well. So, yeah, for sure, Miss Molly. The borderless is always better. So here we have, and again, remember, the guidebook is so amazing. She goes through every single piece of this and why she put those particular symbols in, which is really fantastic. Shay is Alchemy's Arrow. She says that it did not go away from her and they're warping pretty bad. So I've heard, these are the things that I've heard. I've heard that the warping, especially in some climates, is really bad. I've heard that the gilding is really bad on some of the decks. And I've also heard, or then I also know that one of the Emperor card has misspelling. So it looks to me that they've pulled these and are putting them out, but I still wanted to take a look at this because I'm assuming they're just going to fix those issues and then continue printing. So I think this is still at least a quick walkthrough or look at how it is right now. I don't know what you can get. You know, who's left the stock in and who hasn't left the stock in, that I'm not sure. It does sound like Schiffer is addressing the issues. So I appreciate that when a company is not kind of ignoring the problems, and you can contact them. And I've had this happen with other companies. Actually, I think Schiffer did the Marielle too. And as soon as they republish it, I sent them a message saying that mine was messed up. I think I showed them my receipt. And as soon as the printing came out, I got the new box. They just sent me the next deck and did perfectly fine replacing things. So my guess is they're going to do the same thing with this as well. So, you know, that's good to know that when a company at least is acknowledging that there's an issue and is going to take care of it. So there we go. Let's just take a quick look at these. Again, if you're just hopping on, I have a 2-hour walkthrough of this deck. So, no matter the price, your money bought a product that should arrive intact. I feel like they knew these issues. Potentially, but at least they're going to, mine are not, you know, my gilding looks perfectly fine, so I didn't have any issue with gilding. I didn't have any issue with damage when the cards came apart. So you'll see the only issue that I've had when we get to the Emperor here. Again, I really think that they were listening to people and were wise to make these borderless and increase the image size. There is a lot going on in her deck. She talks about all of it, but at least now you can see it a little bit better. This is one of my favorite High Priestess cards. I think it is absolutely stunning. And it is just more stunning. And I know my light, I don't know why the light seems to be extra bad because I don't know. This is again, sometimes I do these things live and I'm like, ew, why did you even do that? But we're not doing a full walkthrough. I have a full walkthrough. So we're just going to take a look here real quick to see if we can see any of the things that were problematic. But I love this card. Here we have the Empress. Again, very busy deck. You'll see if you've watched my original one, you'll see I was really questioning whether I would ever buy this because it's very busy. There's a lot of things that are going on. There's a lot of elements that are involved. But what I have ended up finding is that a lot of the things that are put in there are things that are appealing to me. So it talks about animal energy. There's a mix of bringing in different cultures that are in there. And there's some astrological things that are brought in there. So a lot of the things and the way that she brings it in do really appeal to me and appeal to the things that are important to me. So I really like the nature aspect and the idea of way in which humans are a part of nature and connect with nature, that I think really works well, despite this being a little bit not my typical thing. And again, the guidebook, I think, is just really fantastic for just leaning into each one of the cards as it is. So yeah, so there's that. So you can see right here that there was one of the titles, The Emperor, in which there is a misspelling. I am sure that the editors and whoever has been looking at this are just frustrated about that. No, my larger images do not look blurry at all. And I have my glasses on. I don't know if you can see this really well. It's not blurry at all. They are very crisp, and the color saturation is really beautiful. I think that the matteness really does well for this. I don't really think you're getting a loss of saturation through the or sharpness. I don't think you're getting anything like that. So it really does look fantastic. Here we have the Hierophant. I love the bear and the bull here. Oh, but anyway, so yes, we have a misspelling. I love stuff like that. And the fact that, I don't know, people aren't, there's nothing perfect in the world. And so when this type of stuff happens, I tend to keep the mistake. So my guess is, obviously you can get your deck replaced once they do their reprinting. They may be issuing just the cards for decks that aren't damaged. I don't know what they're going to be doing. I haven't contacted Schiffer yet. I didn't know about this until I had already ordered the deck, so it was already on the way to me. But even if I get a card replacement, often I leave the mess ups because it's just a reminder that we're all human beings and that life is not perfect, and that we sometimes just have to see what that might have to say to us and how we can work with that. So I know how frustrating that is, and obviously I would prefer my deck to have the spell correctly, but I do like, I don't know, there's just something about that appeals to me. So here we have the Hierophant. We'll just flip real quick through. This one has brightened up. It's hard to see in the it's hard to see in the camera because this one isn't as obvious as some other ones. Some of the cards had a bit of almost like there was a haze, a blue filter put over it. And a lot that has all been removed. And there's a little bit of a increase in the brightness there that looks really quite lovely. I love the Pegasus in the chariot. So this is a traditional Rider-Waite Smith that she's just completely reworked in quite a beautiful, beautiful way. And again, you can just see a slight brightening because of that. I absolutely love this strength card. This is one of my favorite strength cards, although I have a lot of favorite strength cards. It's one of the cards I'm very much attracted to. But again, everything that she has, the snake, the lemon scott, when she put something in here, she did it for a reason, and she tells you what that is in the guidebook. So again, that's just something I really appreciate about the guidebook for this deck. Obviously, as I've already said, this is probably one of my all-time favorite hermits, although I do have a lot of favorite hermit cards, but this one is just beautiful. I love the inclusion of the owl. There's a lot of animals, especially in the major arcana, and they really enhance the deck. And of course, I work a lot with animal energy, so that's like a huge bonus for me. Now, there are some cards in the deck that are like this that are a bit much for me. And I knew that. It's one of the reasons I didn't originally buy the deck, is because there were some cards that were just, whoa, like a burst of color, or, a little bit rainbow bright in the Six of Cups, so that type of thing. But again, she's got a reason for it, and so it's workable. And overall, the energy of the deck is really powerful. I've not had anything but a good experience reading with this deck, despite some things that I wouldn't necessarily love. This is stunning. One of my favorite Justice cards. I don't know why I'm showing you that one. I love that this Justice is out in nature. A lot of times when you see Justice cards, it's a lot more cold, and it also often seems outside of nature and out in a kind of a plain environment or a cold environment. And I absolutely love that this Justice card exists in nature. This concept of justice, this concept of clarity, is not something that stands outside of nature, but is part of nature. And so I really, really love this depiction of justice. A very Krishna feeling hanged one. I always love phoenixes, firebirds, anything like that in the in the death card. It is very blue toned. Some of the blue toned has been toned down, but because you don't have as much of the borders as you had, especially before this was trimmed, because it's borderless, some of that is toned down in person, but it is still quite blue for sure. I do really like this devil card. They can climb out of there if they want to. Definitely she does, like the Marielle, you have a bit of Rider-Waite, a lot of Rider-Waite Smith, or let me just say this, it's Golden Dawn base. I think that's a better way to say this, right? So the Rider-Waite Smith and the Thoth deck came out of the Golden Dawn. They're both from the Golden Dawn. They're different interpretations of their correspondences. I think that I would argue Crowley's is probably closer to the actual Golden Dawn correspondences. And so you will see influences from Thoth as well as from Rider-Waite Smith, because those are both from the Golden Dawn. So I think that's a better way of putting it than saying that it is a Rider-Waite Smith deck. It's a Golden Dawn based deck, which isn't something I generally work with, but strictly, but this is a beautiful deck. I love the inclusion of the dove with the olive branch in the Tower card. Again, this isn't intended to be a full walkthrough. I spent 2 hours doing a walkthrough on this. The last thing I need to do is a full. But I just wanted to see you to be able to see the images here in a little bit of a comparison. I love this moon card. And again, she goes over the raven. She goes over all of this. I love the cycles of the moons there. I love the winding path there and the owl. And she really addresses why she put those symbols there. And so it can really stand out. What I found is that there's a bit of scrying with this type of a deck. Shay says the artist says she drew inspiration from Lady Frida Harris. Yeah, that makes sense. It's definitely not a Thoth deck, but you can see those influences. It's a Golden Dawn deck, and that means that you're going to see crossovers from both of them to some degree. what I found is it's kind of a bit of a scry deck, very similar to Shadowscapes for me. Also, some of, I'm blanking. Paulina Cassidy's. Some decks that have a lot of stuff in there can be a piece when you first lay the card down. Some aspect of the card kind of pops up, and you really get this focus on a particular, like you might focus on the Ravens, and so you get these little hits. From in an almost scrying fashion when you have busier decks. Again, generally not my favorite style, but this deck is really powerful. And just I get beautiful readings from it. I mean, you can get beautiful readings from any deck, but you know what I mean. Love that there's not a naked baby. Not a huge fan of the little like flower fairy baby in there, but I'd take this over the naked baby with a 6-pack. I love this Judgment card. I think it's beautiful. There's definitely some other cultures in there. You'll see some images from India. You'll definitely see some Native American tones brought in there as well. And there's probably more that I'm not remembering, but those stand out to me. And then, of course, you have the beautiful world tree in the world card, which I think is gorgeous. I love the nest. Yeah. So that's the majors. I'm going to put this to the side for a minute. So really, it's. I wish I could find one that had. Let me just quickly. I love the 5 of Wands. Like she talks about the green cloak. We saw that there. The green cloak. She talks about the calla lily. She talks about the volcano. She talks about the wands and why she puts them in there. Let me just see if I can find some of my favorites. I actually quite love that 9 of Wands. I like the 10 of Wands. The courts have princes in the active suits of fire and air, and princesses in the receptive suits of water and earth. The queens are gorgeous. The kings are really powerful as well. I'm just this is probably my least favorite card in the deck. I do think things like Rainbow Bright have really ruined beautiful Pegasus and unicorn energy and Fae energy. So this is like my worst nightmare of those things, but it's still, it works as the 6 of Cups. Most of the other cards I do love. And she's just beautiful. That 9 of Cups is gorgeous. Trying to find some of the queens are really powerful and the kings are really powerful. I love this 3 of Pentacles. This is one of my favorite 5 of Pentacles. Look at that. Of course, I love anything with a wolf on it, but I love that 5 of Pentacles. That's gorgeous. The Pentacle suit is my favorite suit, and that's not often the case. I don't generally say, "Oh, I love the Pentacle suit," except for in pips. I love Pentacle pip decks, but this whole Pentacle suit is really gorgeous, and you end with that sort of fairy tale. I know people get a little nauseous with the happily ever, but this is like it's like in a fairy tale. It's like the end, and they lived happily ever after. But I love the courts of the Pentacles. So here's the princess and the knight, and the queen and the king. Love this 2 of Swords. It's a stunning 2 of Swords. I love it. Typical, I'm not my favorite thing for 3 words, but we're not going to go there again for the millionth time. Love this 4 of Swords with the bear energy. Very feel Frida Harris there. Love the 6. We get a little bit of a Inuit feel to it, maybe up in Alaska kind of energy there. I love the whales. A lot of animal energy in this deck. Absolutely. I would say this is my favorite 7 of Swords. So if you know me, I was very confused. I read tarot for a long time before I learned Rider-Waite Smith, and I was very confused by the 7s of Swords in in the Rider-Waite-Smith system, because it's like, what, why is there stealing? It's 4 + 3. It's the energy of new growth that comes out of stability. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. But this, I read the 7 of Swords as there's more going on beneath the surface that needs to be pulled up, right? Just love this. Love it. There's a little bit of feel in some of the cards of used Picard's minors, which if you've watched me long enough, I love that. I really love, I want to show you something. One of the things that I love here, I love looking at the High Priestess and the 9 of Swords in this deck. Because of the 2 spider webs, we have sort of the High Priestess here as the spider, right? She is in full control of her web. She's fully connected. She can feel all of the connections and all the vibrations. She is fully the spider at the center of the web, having woven the web, and she is, fully connected. This is somebody who is disconnected from the web. This is somebody who their energy is high in fears. Their energy could be even high positively, but it's energy bouncing off the wall, and they're not connected. They're disconnected from the web. They have become the moth instead of the spider. So I really love these 2 depictions of being connected to the web versus being disconnected, and the discord that can bring. So love that. Just had to say that. And I think we're through the cards. Very blue. That's purposeful. There's a very blue cast to him. And the coolness of the swords. So anyways, again, I have a lot. Let's give this a shuffle. I have not tried to shuffle this. Let me stick my face up here for a minute while I raise this up. Let's trying to save people who get nauseous. So I can just pull this up a little bit here. Excuse my look. I look like a granny today, I think, which is nothing wrong with a granny, except for I'm not a grandmother. I have my face hurts so bad. I cannot even tell you. Today is a bad sinus day. Okay, let's go back here. Get my, oh no. Okay, I messed it up. There we go. There we go. Okay, let's try this. There we go. I know I can at least get it up, right? Right, Shay? That's exciting. Now, I will say this is a pretty tall deck. Let's see. Let's get a relatively standard deck, right? So here's a relatively standard size tarot deck. You can see it is taller. Now, I consider myself as having long fingers. Like, I have fairly large hands for a woman. I mean, I don't feel like I have beastly hands or anything, but my fingers are quite long. So I don't struggle very often with decks, whereas other people obviously do. This is definitely stretching the level of my ability to riffle it. Give it a try here. So it's not comfortable. I will say, if you have normal size female hands or small male hands or whatever, if you do find yourself having a little bit of trouble with larger decks, this is going to be a bit of a grip, and you might just need to be overhanding it, because you can't trim this one down because it is borderless. I mean, it shuffles nice. It's too bad that it is apparently warping for people, because my version, other than the Emperor, is not, I'm not having any problems with it. Miss Veronica did say she trimmed the titles off so that she could shuffle hers better. Because if you're a riffle shuffler, I could see where, if you don't have a little bit longer fingers, you're going to have a bit of a problem. but it feels good. Is it the best matte cardstock ever? I wouldn't say it's the best, but it feels decent. But again, they're apparently having some problems with it, and Miss Shay's is very, very warped. Now you'll see that mine integrated pretty well, at least at first. So if you were here at the beginning, you could see they were like shipped or sat in two chunks for a while, so that when they went together, they weren't really meshed together well. Mine did integrate fairly well. So it just might be one of those things where there's a batch of them that are really warped. And there's also a batch of them where I don't think this gilding is going to hold up amazing, but I also don't mind. I don't mind used looking gilding. I have to not mind it because I prefer to riffle shuffle. So do as I say, not as I do. If you want your gilding to stay nice, you should not be riffle shuffling. You really shouldn't be. So I don't mind it, and I choose to do it anyways. But just in case you think you do it and your gilding starts to get bad, don't come yelling at me, because that is what's going to happen. Now, a good gilding, such as this is the original edition of the Fountain Terror, not the mass market. This has been riffle shuffled to heck and back. And yes, it's used, right? You can tell that I have used this deck so much and riffle shuffled. That is really good gilding. Can you tell that I've riffle shuffled it? Yes, but it's got a nice aged look to it. So you can get shiny gilding that will hold up really well. I don't think that this is probably going to hold up as well as that, but I could be wrong. But I just accept that and do it anyways. So, okay, I do too. I don't want it to chip up. I don't want it to look nasty, but I like old and, worn gilding that looks like it's been used. I love. Shay and I are like, I think maybe we were siblings in a past life. Okay, so that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. I just wanted to come in and show this because we had talked about it, and I did get it today. We do if you want to join in over on Instagram or wherever your platform of choice is. We started Without Advice for June, and today is June 1st. And so we're just pulling some people are using one deck all the way through the month to really dive into a single deck. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I might do a deck, I might do a week of tarot, and then a week of oracle, and then a week of Lenormand, and then a week of runes or casting or something like that. I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do, but check us out over on, or just you can look at the graph for it over on Instagram at The Truth and Story or at The Living Wheel, because Mr. Patrick's doing it with me. So, of course, see, whenever you say that's my least favorite card, it is going to show up and haunt you for the rest of your life using a particular deck. So you would just use a card for what's going on within. I need to trust myself to navigate my way forward without... I have a whole video on the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is one of my opinion, the most underrated card in tarot, and in one of the most powerful cards in tarot. And so, yeah, I gotcha. I hear you, Six of Cups. And then the Six of Swords moving forward. They're into Better Horizons, the beautiful Six of Swords. So, yeah, if you want to join in on that, please feel free. Make sure you tag me, because I really enjoy watching everybody's take, their card pulls and things like that. So there we go. I'm going to end this, but I'm going to start another one because why not? Why not? I'm going to start another one because I want to take a look at, and I can't even find it. It must be over there. I want to take a look at the Darkwood Tarot, which is something I have been waiting for forever. And then I've been too busy to take a look at it. So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough. I don't know why I say quick. I'm going to do a walkthrough of the Darkwood because I've been waiting for that deck forever. Not forever. I think it's maybe been a year. So I'm going to go do that right now, but I'm going to go ahead and end this so we don't, so this stays somewhat succinct, for as succinct as I can be, which means, an hour-ish for people who are looking back or wanting to take a look at this particular deck. So I hope that for those of you who have lives to live in the next hour, it was good to see you all, and I will talk to you all later. For those of you who are going to take a look at the Darkwood, I'm going to start up another one in just a minute because why not? My face hurts. We might as well look at cards together. Why not? Okay, I'll see you guys all, or some of you, on the flip side. Let me see. I think I need to end the broadcast. Goodbye.